Welcome, OK Gamers, to our weekly podcast where we talk all things video games and nerd culture. You can catch us record this live every Thursday at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/Johnkimble1986, where you can also catch our pre and post show or listen back the very next day on Spotify on your podcast service of choice. I am one of your hosts, Johnkimble1986. And I'm joined today by a good friend, Saladdodger. How you doing, Dodge?
I've been dodging salad for weeks, mate. So I'm doing really well. I nearly ate a carrot tonight, and I decided against it.
Oh, keeping up to nickname. You don't want to ruin your rep. That's
That's
right.
exactly right. You know that there's a trend in pubs at the moment where, because lettuce is so expensive, they're taking the lettuce off the schnitzel and chips plate. So you're just getting, more chips and more schnitzel as far as I'm concerned. It's brilliant.
Like, I'm just going to talk for myself here, but I haven't been eating the pub salads for years. Like the pub salads that come in the little bowls.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm sorry, but I don't trust it. I know that salad has been made up with 100 other salads sitting in a bowl in a cool room.
Yeah.
And you've just pulled it out. And I don't know how long that has been sitting there for. And it's moist. I don't like it. And it's going straight back. And for all I freaking care, you can pick it straight back up off my plate and put it on the next one.
That's probably what happened to the one you got.
Oh, so I'm going to just go in here and say, once again, our pre and post show, we put this on Twitch. You can watch it there. And I'm going to say the pre-show today was on fire. We talked for everything from Sex Pistols to Internet Explorer to It's Morbin Time. I will say that was a lot of fun. And, I'm glad that, the people who jumped on early to check it out.
Yeah, look, I hope that the actual show lives up to the pre-show because it was pretty good.
Yeah, big challenge set. So I guess, and do you know what's really like kind of tough is our first segment. I haven't done the homework on.
Have you not been playing any new games?
So our first segment is what are you playing? We try to do it a little bit different. Can you convince the other person to pick up the game that you're playing? Just because every bozo with a gaming podcast talks about what they're playing. We're changing it. We're flipping the industry on its head. So I guess before we get into it, I think we might talk on last week.
Okay.
My game that I said, will you play, is Crusader Kings. Did you pick it up?
No, but I've downloaded it, ready to play this weekend. Ooh. See, there's a dichotomy that happens in our house. We have several consoles, but for some reason we all want to play the same console at the same time. And this week my young fella hasn't been well, so I've given him the Xbox. So I've just had the Switch to play.
Yeah. Yeah,
we do have a PS. We don't have a PS5, but we got a PS4. So I could be playing that, but I haven't.
No, I'm glad you've got it downloaded. I will say that I took a train trip on Friday last week, and I was this close to signing up to Apple Arcade to play Mini Motorways.
So good.
I literally had it in front of my screen, and it said $7.99. Download it. And you're ready to go, right? And I'm like, you know what? One, I'm on a train, and I don't want my battery to run flat.
Yeah.
Two, I don't think I need a second. I don't think there was a second. But yeah.
Well, with subscription service, my two would be a subscription service is easy to sign up to and forget about unsubscribing once you've finished using it. I'll often go in and unsubscribe and wait for one of my family members, not to Apple Arcade, but, because we rely on it for the music that we have as well. And we're a huge music family, but, so we've got the Apple Arcade wrapped in that. But I'll often go in and cancel, Disney Plus or cancel Stan and then wait for someone to yell out, did we cancel Stan? But it'll take weeks, so I've saved a month, because it adds up. Subscription services add up, mate.
Oh yeah, I think the last time I did a subscription service count up, it was like $90. I think I was paying a
Yeah,
month. It was like frick me, and they're all little $7, $8 things. You don't even
yeah.
notice it. Anyway, so last week we did drag on, so I'm going to try to be a bit more pulling it in. What are you playing this week?
So this week because I've been delegated, or relegated, I should say, to the Switch. I have picked up a game that I purchased. Remember last week I was talking about I've got myself a little sneaky way that I can get in and buy games on the Japanese Switch online store. And there's a game that I downloaded about 12 months ago that I absolutely adore, and it's called Densha to Go, which basically roughly translates to trains. Let's go. Um, and this is simply, at its simplest, a train simulation. And at its sort of, if you're looking to really stretch on it, it is quite a task management game, which I know is not for everybody, especially at the pace that Denture to Go, which is quite slow. But I love it. The replication of Tokyo. So there's this famous train line. There's many train lines. I mean, you look at a train map of Tokyo, especially underground train maps, and it's like a spider's web. But there's a really famous train line run by JR, Japanese Rail, called the Yamanote line. And this is an above ground line, and you can literally get to anywhere in Tokyo on it. You might have to walk to individual suburbs, but it'll get you everywhere. And this game, it is a simulation of driving different series of trains. So I'm getting really boffiny here. I'm not a train spotter, so I'm not really into trains. I'm really into Japan, as we found out last week. But this game is just, it's kind of along the same lines of why I loved mini motorways. It's relaxing, so it's a bit mindless because really you're only driving a train, but there's lots of tasks to manage to do it successfully. So you're constantly doing something, and then it's got this added benefit on top that I get to experience a virtual world of Tokyo, which I miss on a daily basis. One of my favorite places in the world to travel to, and you get to travel around it. And trains are such an integral part of Tokyo lifestyle, because it's rare to own a car because it's so expensive to garage it and register it and drive it around, and a lot of houses don't have anywhere you can put it, so you got to pay high fees to garage your car. So everyone catches the train. It's a really quintessential part of Japanese life. So I absolutely love that part. It's got all the cute animations that you can expect from a Japanese game, and it's all in Japanese. So I get a bit of a Japanese lesson, a bit of a Japanese language lesson while I'm there.
Awesome. So there's no English options.
No English options. And look, you can buy Densha to Go on PC and switch it over to English, but not on any console.
Well, I'm just going to say you failed. I will not be picking up Densha to Go. There's no one. I don't have the sneaky back way to get into it and to play it. It sounds cool. It does sound like a cool game that I would be interested in. I am a task manager kind of person. I am I like getting into the little core details. I love it when there's a game that you sit there and you look at and you go, I have no idea how this works, but then you start seeing the pieces of the puzzles. And it's like you start pulling back a layer, and then just as you get used to this layer, there's another layer behind it, and it just like keeps giving and building on itself. Those kind of games I absolutely love, and that's one of the reasons I loved Crusader Kings so much. But Civilization is my favorite game, because of that. I love Civilization so much.
So I love Civilization. So is it more in depth, the Kingdom game? Sorry, what was it called again?
Crusader Kings, yes.
Crusader
It is more in depth than I would
right.
say Civilization. Civilization, they set it up so it's pretty easy to learn, like to do your basics, and then there's systems and systems of it. But you're going to need the tutorial for it. But The game I'm going to say is, and when I say what are you playing, as I said, I haven't been playing much. This last week, I've been playing Fortnite on stream. I've been playing Elden Ring on stream. Other than that, I have not picked up my controller. I've just been, to be completely honest, I've been playing a lot of guitar, which has been really fun. I've been really enjoying it. I'm the kind of person who goes through phases, and I'll be like freaking live and breathe my guitar for like a month, and then won't pick it up again for 6 months. But I've been living and breathing my guitar for the past week, which has been fantastic.
Talk to me about Elden Ring, because that's not a game I would pick up for two reasons. Number one, I'm not really into, from what I can see, it's medieval, so I've
Yeah.
never been really into that. And from what I understand, it's very hard.
Yes, gruelingly hard. So it's a game from Software. It is they call them like a Souls game. And the whole idea of it is really hard. You've got to go and kill people, and you get souls or get these like level up things. And then you got to take them back to your campfire, and then you level it up. So it's like kind of this, but it's more than that. You got the system, like you dodge at the right times, and then you can attack at that. You got to look at your stamina. You got to, like, there's so many different just so many different things that you got to like keep an eye on while you're doing it. When you roll, there's like a little invincibility section. Like if you can roll at the right time, you can dodge any single attack in this game. As a matter of fact, there is a player who has gone. What he does is he camps outside one of the strongest bosses in the game with no armor. So he stands there completely naked. If you get one shot hit, he will die. But people call him in to help, because you can call your friends in to help fight this boss. And he goes in there every single time, defeats this boss because he knows her system so well that he dodges every single attack, attacks when he needs to attack, and he's killed her like 1,000 times. The hardest boss in the game. So it's impossible. It's very difficult, but there's always this sense of hope. And it's
what do you mean? What do you mean?
Every time you die, you don't think that this is impossible. This game is absolutely impossible. You die and you go, if only I dodged at that one point. Or, I'm now getting... I understand his attacks now. I understand that he attacks here, he attacks this. When I go behind, I got to be ready for the tail whip. Like, I went through a boss on stream, Margit. It's the first big boss, I think, of the game that you kind of verse. I think I did it last week, or I did it the week before. I did it the week before, actually. And, we sat through, and I died to this boss maybe about 10 times. I think, like around 10 times there. But every single time I died, I knew what I did wrong, or felt like I was only a couple of right moves away from finishing it. And when you defeat it and you get all the souls that you can now go back to your campfire and level yourself up, it's like this feeling that I just just get so excited, or it's just this sigh of relief, like, I can't believe I did it. And it's like a little bit like crack. It's just like, and then you're like, I'm going to go and punish myself again and go through to the next bit. Or the fact that, you've been struggling on this bit, and you walk around the corner and there's a new campfire there. Because when you die, you go back to the fire.
Okay.
Your souls get stuck wherever you died, and you've got to then work your way back. So let's say you go through 3 rooms full of bad guys, you die, and then you come back and you go to the first room of the bad guys, and then you get killed. Well, all your souls that you've been protecting end up getting disappeared, and you start from scratch again, which is always that frustrating point. Yeah. But as you go through these 3 rooms over and over again, you end up knowing where this person is, where that person is, the moves that person's going to do, and you just get this awareness of the game that you just don't, that then makes you feel like you're just on top of it. So it's almost like the old platformers, right? Like, you know, when
I was about to say it sounds very old school because that's one of the things that I miss about old school games is how brutal they actually were.
yeah, you know, it's ridiculous. Like you pull out the old Mega Drive systems or something, like, you know how they do the Mega Drive packs, and you pull out those I don't know, Golden Axe, or you
Yeah.
know, a couple of different there was this other one, Altered Beast.
Yes. What a game.
Man, that's hard to play in
Yeah.
2022 because it's like you don't know. Like, it's a game that you had to sit there and get used to every single place. You know, you're running along, fireballs coming this way. You jump this, you jump onto the platform. Like, you build this like way to get through the level, and it's almost the exact same, but in a 3D medieval space. Yeah, it's a
Right.
lot of fun. I would definitely recommend doing it. And you know, as if you enjoy it, once you get onto a Souls game and it gets your hooks into you, it's going to blow you away. There is a game that you might even enjoy more, maybe a little bit harder. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. The only reason I say that is because it's ninjas, Japan.
Yeah, I like that sort of stuff. I've been
So,
playing the other game I've been playing is that Yumi. Oh, now I can't remember
Trek to
it.
Yumi.
Track to
I've picked
Yumi.
it up and played the first few levels as well.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of platformer. I'm not sure I exactly love it, but I like the way it's done. I like the graphics. I like the ambience. I like the way they use the camera. It's got a few interesting aspects. I don't think I'll play it to the end.
Yeah. I won't pick that back up. I played it. I played a few levels. I won't play it to the end though. What I was actually, before you said go on to Elden Ring, which I could talk a bit more about, but the other game I was going to say that I just started playing today is The Artful Escape. But I'm going to save that for next week
Okay.
because I've
All right.
only literally played about 20 minutes of it. But I do
Okay.
know this is a game that you're going to want to pick up. But I
Yeah,
might
right.
save that till next week. But will you play Elden Ring?
We'll put it this way, the young fella has begged me to buy it for him, and because he's saving for a gaming computer, that's the new thing that he wants. I've said no because it'll have to come out of his savings. But now that Dad wants it, you never know what's possible.
As I said, that or Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Very, you know, it's the same developers who created both. Um, Shadows Die Twice, as I said, it's a little bit more linear, maybe even a little bit more harder, bit of a different fighting style, but same kind of mentality of the what a Souls game is, and that grind and, you know, torture versus reward that you get. So let's move on to our next subject because we'll try to keep it going, keep it flowing along pretty quickly. And I've gone back into a get to know your host segment. So as you know, this is officially our first ever episode. Last week was a pilot, but I've got a few questions here that I think we work through. Whether this segment stays as you guys get to know us a bit better or not. But I thought, let's get into it and go get to know the hosts. The question I have for you, were you Sega or Nintendo, or were you PC?
The hard reality of it is I wanted to be Nintendo. I wanted to be Nintendo bad. My friend Michael McCaskill had a Nintendo and I absolutely loved it. He even had Duck Hunt. If you had Duck Hunt as a kid, you were made. But I was a Sega kid. I had a Mega Drive with Alex the Kid built in. You didn't even have to put a cartridge in, and Alex the Kid would come up. And I played the absolute hell. I finished Alex the Kid, which was quite a task at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met anyone who has finished Alex the
Yeah, I
Kid.
finished Alex the Kid. Yeah. In
Holy
Miracle World,
crap.
Alex the Kid in Miracle World, I think it was.
Is that the one
It starts off and you're going down
you
on
go
the
down
platform.
and then
You
you
go
go
down.
down into the water and then
Yeah.
and then you've got to do the underwater level.
Yeah.
I got
And you
to
got a big punch.
yeah,
That's pretty much it. You got a punch.
I got to the bike level in the
Yep.
forest. I think
Righto.
it might have been the fourth level. That is the best. I think I got up to the rock, paper, scissors guy once.
Yep.
But with that, you had to learn their Like anything,
Yes.
right? The first time you come up against them, you know you're going to lose, but then you go, okay, he picks this,
Yeah.
or he picks this, and then you got to figure out what he picks on the second one, and then
Yeah.
so it's like you got to kind of learn it. But
For a
then,
kid's game, it was brutal. It really was brutal.
absolutely, um, Sega Kid. What?
Yeah, I was a Sega kid.
So I was also a Sega Kid.
Okay.
Um, I think I mentioned my first ever console was a Sega Master System,
Master System, yeah.
which had that Alexa kit on it, and then I went to Mega Drive.
Yeah.
But Sonic the Hedgehog, I mentioned Double Dragon last week.
Yeah.
What's that?
I wasn't allowed to play Double Dragon. Too much violence.
Oh, Altered Beast. We talked
Yep.
about already. Golden Axe. We also talked about. Like Golden Axe was freaking like that. I still remember just like the noise, the when you're sitting at the campfire and those little elves like come up to steal your shit.
Yep.
And then you get up and you got to go attack all of them and like level up your health and everything. Like it.
Were you a Wonder Boy fan? I was a huge Wonder Boy. I loved Wonder Boy.
I always got stuck on Wonder Boy. I used to hire that from the shops, and I think you started as a dragon.
Oh, that one. Yeah, there's a couple of different Wonder Boys. Let me bring that up. Wonder Boy series. I liked the very first Wonder Boy. I thought just the Wonder Boy was fun, but then it had Wonder Boy in Monsterland was the one I really liked. It was more of a you could go and buy things. You could buy hearts and you could buy different shields and different armor. And to me, that was just an absolute blow away. And at the video shop that I used to hire games at, they had two arcade machines. We used to call them pennies. And I had two arcade machines. And one would swap all the time, but one was Wonder Boy in, what did I say, Monsterland. And I used to, there was a guy who was really, really good at it. Like he was really good at it. And I used to give him 20 cents like to continue on. We used to all stand around and watch him play. He was that good at it. And I remember that when mum, it was one of the expensive cartridges. Like it was a really expensive cartridge. And when mum brought it home, like I'm pretty sure I cried. I'm pretty sure I cried. It was a huge day.
Wow. My favorite game, and still holds up, I think, to this day, is The Lion King. Did you ever play The Lion King on Mega Drive?
No.
Very well known for being an absolutely brutal game. In particular, the second level, which is the I Just Can't Wait to Be King level, where you travel as baby Simba through and you have to like literally like jump on giraffe heads and swing from monkeys and make your way across this thing, while in the background you've got like this eight track MIDI freaking like so it's got like all the songs in it. It just was so brilliant. Cool. And you go through the whole story, which is like, touching as all hell story. And you go right through and you grow up as I think it was 8 levels, and it ends in the epic battle with Scar on Pride Rock. And I think I actually had to use cheats to replenish my health. Like, not my health, my lives, in order to
My question is, did you have to buy a magazine to learn those cheats? How did you learn the cheats?
I think it would have had to be magazine. I don't, like, how else would have I done it? There's no
Because they
way.
wouldn't give you cheats on the hotline. We touched on this last week, that kids would be absolutely, when I told my son that I used to call the Sega hotline for something like 55 cents a minute or something like that. My mum let me do it like 2 or 3 times, but I had to be as quick as I could. But yeah, it was like 55 cents a minute, and you rang the Sega hotline and they would give you tips. So you'd tell them, a real person would sit there and they like you would tell them what game, they'd patch you through to the game expert, and the game expert would tell you how to get through the level, and they'd be right. I did that, yeah, as I said, about 2 or 3 times. One of them was Wonder Boy, and one of them was to get through the last level of, I think, the second Sonic, the one with Tails in it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a great game too.
It's a great game. I mean, I love if you forced me to pick, I would have to say that Sonic was my favorite Sega game because of the time that I spent on it. Yes, I finished Alex the Kid, but I would have completed at least 2, if not 3 different Sonics. And just, I don't know, going around in a circle was like, it sounds stupid today, but at the time, watching a character with the physics going around in a circle, that was a blowout, man. That was an absolute blowout to watch.
Oh, going to Sega, the first one, like I remember that in the first level, Emerald Hill, you go around your bloody loopy thing and you get sent out, and if you could get the right, if you get the right momentum and you hit the right spot, you literally go flying. I've just that. You literally go flying like halfway across the bloody level, and that feeling of just like, it's almost as good as having the wind in your hair doing it yourself, watching this on the screen, right?
It's a blowout.
Hey, I'm just going to jump in here, and Hato goes, the game expert probably was just reading the magazine whilst talking to you.
That's probably true. You may be right. They probably had folders and folders of magazines. You're probably right. But I just remember being blown away that I got to speak to some snotty teenager who I thought was just brilliant. And they give me tips on how to get. But I used to buy gaming magazines. One week, my mum bought magazines, so she bought, the trash magazines, New Idea and, Woman's Weekly and stuff. And every time she'd go to the newsage, she'd buy me. One week, she'd buy me Smash Hits, which was a music magazine, which came with lyric cards in the back to the top 5 songs.
Yeah.
And on this other week, she'd buy me a game like every fortnight. So she'd buy me one fortnight it'd be a game of mag, and one fortnight it'd be Smash Hits. But I love those. I love those gaming magazines.
So, this is getting a little bit off topic, and I will pull it back in. But I used to go at the back of our newsagents and dumpster dive, and they would have the magazines cut. So they just cut the front bit off so that, I don't know, so you couldn't read the front cover, I guess.
No. They cut that off to send it back to the publishers so they'd get reimbursed, because the publishers didn't want all these old magazines. They'd get reimbursed for the magazine that they didn't sell if they cut the top part of the cover off. That's how it worked, yeah.
And so I used to just go and dumpster dive the newsagents after, I'd wait till either after school or just, when they would not be there. But I think I'd just run the risk because, I wasn't out at night time as a kid, but I would run the risk and just I hope the newsagent doesn't come by, and just look in, grab a bunch of magazines of all different kinds, gaming or not, and then take it home, and and then you've got free gaming magazines, which was absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant.
They're just 1 month old, because they do a monthly thing. You just be 1 month behind. Let's be honest. Back then, you'd get a game, and it would be sitting there as your pride and joy for 6 to 12 months anyway.
Absolutely. I'd lucky to get 1 or 2 games a year.
Yeah. Oh, so let's move it along. I hope you got to know us a little bit better. If so, I will.
Hopefully, it didn't turn you off listening even more.
So I will say that I have set up the Discord channel. The link will be in the description. The Discord channel has an OK Gamers section. You can then put suggested topics. You can put things like that. And I might even put a channel for Get to Know Your Hosts where you can put your questions in there. Because I'm going to be honest, I've written a few up, but next week looks like that I need to start thinking of some more after next week. So any help would be greatly appreciated.
And I'll also throw in links to stuff we've talked about as well. I'll try and get better at jumping in there as well. So, if you're interested in anything we've talked about, even in the pre-show, I'll whack up the links to where you can find it.
Hell yeah. Okay, so now let's head on to our show topic. Our number one topic of the show. We'll unpack this We touched on this last week very quickly and decided this is a perfect way to launch to begin with. It is virtual reality. Has it lived up to the expectations, or as I've named the title of the show, the reality of virtual reality?
Yeah, and look, I'm going to jump up first onto the soapbox and say absolutely not. And I think last week I talked about a movie, I think it was either late 80s or early 90s called The
Lawnmower Man.
Lawnmower Man. And that movie featured, it was probably one of the first movies that featured virtual reality. Um, and it kind of made the promise that virtual reality would, for all intents and purposes, look and feel like reality. And I think that promise was a stupid one to make because it was never ever going to be the case, and I even get to, I know, things like Second Life were never virtual, pegged as virtual reality, but it's the failure of Second Life because it felt, absolutely nothing like a Second Life, and I think the promise of virtual reality has let virtual reality down because I think virtual reality is amazing in certain applications. So training, I think to learn something, virtual reality is really good. I think the problem with gaming virtual reality is we have limited in our minds to a headset, that we must feel this complete immersion just with our eyes. And I think that is a really limiting scope. And I'm getting really serious here, and then I'll get a bit more lighter. But I think it's a limiting scope to thinking about virtual reality because it just feels so clunky. Even if you've got the space to set up in your home to give yourself, a fair amount of gaming space to walk around in, moving in it still feels clunky. The controls, Oculus Rift controls are really clunky. The PlayStation virtual reality controls are really clunky, and I think some of the best fun that you can have in a consumer world in virtual reality is actually on the PlayStation virtual reality. Like I look at Playroom, I think there's a lot of fun to be had in Playroom, but it's still very clunky. And it's more about the social aspect in Playroom that makes it playable than it is the actual games.
That's it. So I'm going to be completely honest here. I haven't, apart from going down to Virtual Reality Charlestown, get a free plug. We'll hit them up for some advertising dollars later.
Yeah.
The I haven't put on a virtual reality headset. I decided to pull out of my pre-order for the PlayStation 1 just because, one, so expensive. Two, the one, it's so expensive. Two, it is it is so clunky. I got to put put all the gears on. Everything I was hearing about the cords and everything hanging, like I absolutely hate that I have this cord hanging off my head right now. But in order to set this up right, I do not have a choice. Like I would be Bluetooth, headless, cordless, any way I can. But I need this wire because there's just too much things going in my computer to make this show happen. But just that all those things are limiting factors for me. And I also was looking at it going, does it need to, do I need to put this kind of outlay in for something that's just going to sit on a shelf and collect dust?
Yeah, and the games, man, the games just haven't been there. They're not there, And the best games are the really quick ones. So I've touched on Playroom. I think that's a good experience. You can have a good time in there, but it's more about the people you're playing with and the fun that you're having with the people in there than it is the games. Because let's be honest, the little mini games in there are crap. And then I think about, some of the stuff that it's shipped with, the luge got a really big reaction from people, but that's over like so quickly. There was a shark, demo where you went down into the water and sharks would come up, and, people thought, it's a great demo, but once you've done that, it's like when it's it's like buying Wii Sports and never playing it with someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not what it's meant for. And you're probably better off spending your dollars at a place like, Virtual World at Charlestown, or there used to be one in Watt Street as well that I really liked, who have set up a dedicated space. You've got enough space. That's the other thing. To have a really good, go at it, you've got to have the space so you're not knocking over grandma's best china and, and your drink and, and you need to be able to put the cords from the ceiling to have a fairly decent experience rather than the cords. I mean, moving the wrong way and pulling off your $700 PlayStation is not something, I went too far and then broke my PlayStation. It just didn't live up to the promise. And I suppose I want to segue, and sorry, I'm dominating here, but I want to segue that into that. I think we need to get to a point, and gaming needs to get to a point where we accept more than just the headset as virtual reality, because there's some of the best virtual and quote unquote virtual reality experiences I've had are in a dome, full domes and half domes. So where the projection is on, so you're in the dome or you're in a half dome, like a big screen that's actually a dome or a half dome, and you're standing in it and the stuff is happening on the screen, and you're controlling with pretty much the same as Oculus Rift controllers. And the sound, the immersive sound, if set up properly, is amazing. But these things cost millions of dollars. And because of that, most of those are set up for training aspects. So the one that I've played with was a coal mining rescue training system. And it was a full dome, immersive sound, 360 sound around. The graphics were okay. They weren't amazing. They were okay. But I found the experience much more immersive than I've ever found a headset. And the other thing is, a lot of people cannot stand that headset on. They immediately feel sick.
Yeah. I'm scared of that with me because I am a motion sickness kind of person. Like, I can't pick up a phone while I'm driving a car. Well, sorry, when I'm sitting in the passenger seat of a car, I can't pick up the phone. But I think, like, in terms of virtual reality and gaming, I really struggle to see a future there. Like, I think, the way it is now, you're right. Like, it needs to adapt and grow into something bigger. But where virtual reality is and will and has taken off is going to be in those commercial spaces. I used to work, and this is now we're not even talking video games, but I used to work for a marketing department for an engineering company, and it was all about the site tours. Well, we need to get this person in to do the site tour, and the site tour was the bee's knees, right? Because as soon as you have someone walking through your site to see the state-of-the-art technology that you have creating the engineering tools that you're creating, then they go, wow, these guys have the capability and the technology behind them to achieve our goals. And to be able to do all of that by, look at trade shows, for example.
Yeah.
To trade show, in order to buy a 3x3 trade show, get a couple of pieces of your things and a DVD in the corner, costs absolutely buckets. Now, What if you just had a 1x1 trade show stand and all it had was your logo and a VR headset? And you just put your VR headset, then all of a sudden you're going through a virtual tour of that site. We know, for the music, be able to sit down and watch a live act from the room. I don't think it would ever be the same experience.
No.
But look at the years we've had over the last 2 years. Who wouldn't want to go and watch their favorite band be playing? Who would be playing, Foo Fighters or something?
I have a different opinion on that, though, because I think a director is always going to pick a better angle than my head. I honestly do. And I think that, if I'm standing in a crowd with other avatars and the only difference is that I can turn to my left and my right and I can see other avatars. I don't know if I'm really into that. Like, I stuffed around with Splendors, the virtual Splendor in the Grass Festival. what an absolute fucking bin fire. You know, sorry, I swore.
It's all good.
Absolute, yeah, absolute bin fire. You know, just give me the video. Like, I want to see Axe play. Give me a really well directed video. I'm not into that. And as far as I'm concerned, images on rails is not virtual reality. Virtual reality is when I can. Virtual reality would be, well, you know what I would like? If I could come on and shake Bono's hand in the middle of him singing a U2 song, that's virtual reality. Just standing there watching him perform, that's not virtual reality. I can't change anything in that environment. It's not virtual. You know, I think that's a lie. You know, when we see those videos, you know, headset kind of videos, 360 video basically is what it is, and they call it a virtual experience. Get out. Like, that's not a virtual experience unless I can walk in and change something in that environment. It's not virtual. Really gets on the goat. It really does. Because the reason why virtual reality has not had the evolution that it should have is because of morons that will say that your 360 video is a virtual experience. It's not. It's not. It really, really gets on my goat. Virtual reality should be a reality experience. You should be able to change things in the environment that you're in. End of story.
I tell you what, I don't think we can follow on from there at all. I absolutely love that, and it's something I haven't really thought about. But you hit the nail on the head, and until we get to that point, I guess it's not going to live up to those plans that we want to be, right?
Yeah, and you need one of those things that those 360 treadmill things.
Yeah.
Talk to me then. When I can set a wireless headset up in my house with decent controllers and one of those 360 treadmill things, I might be ready to say virtual reality gaming is here. But until that day, don't even talk to me about it. And these 360 videos, get in the bin.
Hato jumps in and he goes, most VR experiences are just Xbox Connect, but the TV is right in front of my eyes.
Yep.
He's
kind of right. He's kind of right.
I will say, the one time I did put the set on, I didn't get sick, but I wasn't in there for very long. But it messes with your brain, though. Like, it does something to your brain that shouldn't be done. Like, it's like, if you die in a dream, do you die in real life?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to our final segment, and this week's game releases. I've got it up here. Do you want to do the?
Yeah, I'll go through it. Let's go through it and let's have a little bit of a chat about each game. I ruined it last week when I asked you to tell me whether you'd play it or not. We're going to wait till the end and then pick out the one we would play, I think is the best way to do it. So
Yeah.
The first one, and I got to say, these are not the games we have picked out ourselves. This is Game Informer's new release coming out this week. And the first one on the list is Lumberjack, available on Switch and PC. The release date is June 13, so it's already out.
I'm going to jump in. It's Lumberjack.
Oh,
because it is
God, I've missed the joke.
It is a bear. I don't know anything about this, but I would say that it is a bear that chops down trees. Would be my assumption of what this game is.
Fail.
Oh.
All right, the next one on the list is Resident Evil 2. Now, I'm assuming this is a re-release because the next one underneath it is Resident Evil 3, then Resident Evil Village. So
this would be because all of these are now being updated and released for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. So it's the cash grab. So they've updated it to release it. So Resident Evil 2, 3, and Village all came out in the last probably 4 years, 3 years maybe. And now they've obviously just updated them for PlayStation 5 to ship them over. And we've also got Lumberjack again. What a lineup.
Can I say, though, for someone who I sort of skipped a gaming generation of adult games because I I got right into playing video games with my kid, when he was really young. We bought a pardon me, we bought the very first Wii, played a lot of Mario Kart, Excite Truck, which I really loved, etc. So I actually never played a Resident Evil game until I got the Xbox Series S that I got for Game Pass. And of course, Game Pass had the Resident Evil. I can't even remember which one I played. Oh man, I absolutely loved it. I was so bummed I missed the whole series, and I was so it was frightening. I was shocked at how frightening it actually was.
I believe off the top of my head, I'm going to do a wild stab and say it's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Was it first person or was it third person?
Now it's first person.
Yeah, it would have been Biohazard, which is an insane game. So I sat down with Shimmer, we turned the lights off and played that game, and man, she wouldn't play it, but she would just enjoy watching me play it, and we would freak out like nothing else. It was such a good game. So yeah, moving on to the next one, we've got Lumberjack again. They've double listed it instead of saying that. Oh, it's because it comes out on a different day. See, so Lumberjack comes out on the June 13th on Switch and PC, and then June 14th on Xbox Series X, S, and Xbox One.
Now, the next one is Neon White. Now, this has got a pretty high rating here at 8.5. This is the sort of thing I would have been into back in the day. Looks very, sort of RPG kind of action kind of game, out on the 16th. So today on the Switch. I probably would have been into this back in the day, probably not now.
So I'm going to just jump in because, if I follow the link down all on Game Informer, it just says, where was it? Why? I did see like the, God.
Like
it had a quick synopsis.
synopsis.
It had a really, here we go. Neon White review dash holy hell. Neon White isn't just one of the best games of the year, it also speaks to a highly specific audience many just don't anymore. And it wasn't 8.5, it's 9.5 on Game Informer.
9.5.
So, hey, Switch and PC.
Yeah, look, as I said, back in the day, this might have been something that I would have picked up. Interesting. I'm not saying no, but it would have been interesting. And what's Redout 2? Now, this is available on every console on the face of the planet. They're probably even bringing it out on the Atari 2600. Also out today, Redout 2. Never heard of Redout 1. It looks like a game I used to play with my friend Michael McCaskill on the Nintendo called F-Zero. Don't know much about the game though.
I look at it and I go, oh, it kind of reminds me of Wipeout, if you remember that.
Yeah,
PlayStation
I do remember Wipeout.
But I'm just looking at the picture. It doesn't really tell me each, but that's June 16th on PS5, Xbox XS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. So yes, everywhere basically.
And Atari 2600.
Yeah.
The next one down, this is right out of my, just even the name. As soon as you say Starship, I'm done. Starship Troopers Terrain Command. Only available on PC, which is good because it's pretty much a game only for geeks, what I can see.
I was like, Starship Troopers. Is that you remember the movie?
Yeah.
Is it a follow-on from that? I
very highly doubt it. I very highly doubt it.
I think it actually is because I'm looking at the picture now and it does have one of those aliens that were there. Starship Troopers was a good movie, but am I going to play a game that comes out 20 years after the movie that looks B grade? No, I'm not.
It looks super, and I think from what I understand of it, it's like a turn-based strategy game as well.
Yeah, it would be 100% would be.
Yeah, shocking. And the last one on the list, which come to daddy, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Now, when I used to go to Time Zone in Charlestown, this was beyond the Simpsons game and the driving games, which I absolutely love. I always put a few dollars into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
Well, it's out on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, and I'm looking here, and it can have up to 1 to 6 players play. So it might even be something that we Xbox One. Yeah, it might even be something that we should have a crack at together.
Yeah,
I
look, I'd be keen on that. And from what I'm seeing on Game Informer, this is the old school arcade game. If not the one I played, it's in the old style arcades. The same style as the old arcade game anyway. And if you can play up to 6 players, this will be absolutely awesome.
Oh wow! Actually, yeah, I'm looking at pictures now. Yeah, it called
Yeah,
itself what? Old school. The headline was "Old School Thrills, New School Polish."
I bags
Oof.
Donatello.
You know what? Now looking back, so that's all the releases we've got. Thanks to Game Informer. Yes, there's probably more, but blame Game Informer.
I'm game.
Just tweet out to @Game Informer. Say your list sucks. Hashtag OK Gamers. Let's just
Get to send merch.
Like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. So I'm just going to go out and say I'm curious on Lumberjack. I am very curious on Lumberjack, and if it is a Games Pass one, June 14th, it should already be out, right?
Yeah.
If it's on Games Pass, I would have a look at it. I'm not paying a cent for it. But I think my pick of the week will have to go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Mate, we agree on something. That's brilliant. We should maybe we should if we can get it happening and it is on a console we can both play on, maybe we should organize a bit of a bonus stream.
Yeah, that'd be good. Maybe on the weekend or something.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna jump on over. So there's our pick of the week, and actually that's what we've got time for, I guess, today. We've managed to keep it right on to, I was aiming between 45 to an hour. I think 2 weeks in, 1 week officially, 2 weeks in, I think 45 is just, there's no way. But I think that hour is pretty well our sweet spot. So might finish it up with, that concludes our first, concludes our first official episode of OK Gamers. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you would like to be part of the show, please write in any questions, topics, or anything you'd like to discuss in the Discord channel. I'll chuck an invite into the description of wherever you're checking this out from, or be a part of it live every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/Johnkimble1986, where you can also catch our pre-show and post-show exclusively there. You don't get it anywhere else, which we're going to head over and check it out now. Thank you so much, Dodger.
Thanks for having me. We need a catchphrase, so let's talk about that to finish up the show. So let's talk about that in the post show.
Yeah, maybe Hato can give us some tips. Have a fantastic one, guys. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you guys next week.